told you to quiet down, but now you wear a crown. Visionary queen with a spark.
Welcome to You Matter in Business with Ariel Faith, your brand, your story, and your success, because you matter in your business. Welcome back to You Matter in Business. Raise your hand if this sounds familiar. Your heart knows exactly what you want to say, what you stand for, what you've been building, but your mind shows up with a million reasons to pivot, adjust, or completely change directions. And I'm not talking about authentic growth here. I'm talking about the exhausting cycle where you know what you want to communicate, but you keep second guessing yourself into paralysis. You say, well, maybe this method is better than that method. Well, maybe if I try this and I can A/B test this, and we end up in a loop. So here's what I see happen all the time with women building heart-centered businesses. They finally get clear on their message. They know what they stand for. They understand who they serve and how. And then they start tweaking. And I know this because I tweak all the time. So I am speaking from my own problems. And then you tweak, you adjust, you tweak, you adjust, and then 6 months later, you're at the same place because you're still tweaking. So maybe I should say it this way instead. What if people think, I saw someone else doing it differently, or maybe those are dangerous thoughts. So today we're talking about the difference between authentic evolution and second guessing yourself to death. So there is authentic change and adaptability that we need. That's just natural. But when we start second guessing ourselves, that is when we get ourselves in trouble. Because here is the cost of constantly changing your message that nobody talks about. It's not just about confusing your audience. So let's talk about what happens when we consistently change your message. People can't remember you. They can't refer you. They can't become a champion of your work because they're never quite sure what you do or what you stand for. So here's the thing. You're not confusing them because your work is complicated. You're confusing them because you keep changing the way you talk about it. I've watched incredibly talented women cycle through message after message, convinced that the next version will be the one, including myself. But meanwhile, their heart knows 6 months ago exactly what they wanted to say. But perfectionism disguised itself as just making it better, the fear underneath all this changing. That's committing to one direction. It means missing out on everything else. What if you plant your flag firmly in one spot? You'll lose opportunities. That's all fear. But the opposite is actually true. When you commit to a message and stick with it long enough for people to understand it and remember it, that's when opportunities start finding you. In fact, when you are so tired of a message, you are just barely being heard. And that's something to keep in mind. It is just okay to commit to something even when your other good options exist. So you're allowed to choose one clear message and let it be enough. So think about that for a second. So if you choose a clear message, that's the key, it's clear. Let it stand. Check back on it 6 months from now. And then tweak, or a year from now, and then see how it did and tweak. If you don't use a consistency, that's when you will lose. So how do we tell the difference between heart's clarity and your mind's chaos? Well, here's what I've learned, both personally and watching clients navigate this. When your heart knows something, there's a settle to it. There's a settleness. Even if it feels scary, there's a yes. That's it underneath. It doesn't keep changing based on what you see other people doing or what you hear other people saying. It doesn't shift every time you scroll social media. It remains consistent even when you're tired and doubting yourself. Your mind, though, at least mine, Your mind wants to complicate what your heart knows is simple. Your mind sees someone else's success and immediately questions your own path. Your mind thinks the more words, the more explanation, the more qualifications will make your message better, when usually it just makes it muddy. I did this exact thing when I was first developing my brand. My heart knew I wanted to help women align their inner transformation with their outer business presence. That's it, the core. But my mind kept adding, but what about this? And shouldn't I mention that? And well, maybe I should explain, until my message got so cluttered that nobody understood what I actually did. Turning point came when someone I respected asked me a single question. What do you help women do? And my heart answered immediately, clearly. The answer hasn't changed in years. Everything my mind has tried to add, all of that has fallen away. So what if your heart's first clear answer was actually the right one? And then what if all this tweaking and adjusting is just your mind trying to protect you from the vulnerability of being clearly seen? That's a pretty deep one. Let that one sink in. So maybe the tweaking, and I'm talking to myself too, is really your mind's fear trying to protect us from the vulnerability of being clearly seen.
Behind the lens, crafting tales and news.
Bring your marketing, your brand to life with storytelling and strategy. Cut through the noise with clear messaging and compelling visuals that resonate with your ideal client. We bring strategy, story, and visuals to help you with your marketing. Visit arieljoyfaith.com and schedule a consultation and see how we can help you bring your brand to life.
Selfies here, just genuine sight. Authenticity in every light.
So how do we change this? Well, here's what happens when you stick with your message long enough for people to understand it. They start championing your work. They refer you accurately. They share your content because they actually know what you stand for. And yes, you will get bored with your own message before other people even fully understand it. You'll think, I've said this 1,000 times, but your audience, they're just starting to get it. Consistency builds trust. People need to hear your message multiple times in multiple ways before it really lands. There's also something deeper that happens when you commit. You stop wasting time on endless options. You stop second-guessing every piece of content you create. You stop comparing your message to everyone else's because you're not shopping anymore. You made your choice. The freedom that comes from making a decision and stopping the endless options, that's where your real creative energy lives. When you're not constantly guessing your foundation, you can actually build something on it. Now, let me be clear. I'm not talking about never growing or evolving or changing or improving. Your message will naturally deepen as you do, but there's a difference between organic growth and perpetual pivoting. Organic growth feels like yes, and perpetual pivoting, lots of P's in that one, feels like waiting. No, wait, no, actually, wait, don't start yet. Whereas organic growth feels like, yes, that's it. When you find yourself wanting to change your message, pause and ask, is this authentic or is this fear? Is my heart leading this shift or is my mind just seeing something shiny? The squirrel syndrome. Has my core message really changed, or am I just finding a clearer way to say the same thing? So next episode, we'll dive into something that can be really challenging. Celebrating other women's success without letting comparison steal your joy. Because here's the truth. When you're solid in your own message and committed to your own path, other women's wins stop feeling threatening and start feeling inspiring. When going to when you're going to talk about how to genuinely celebrate without that little voice asking, why not me? It's going to be a good one. So come back and listen. So here's what I want you to sit with this week. Where do you know what you want to say, but keep second guessing yourself? Is it in networking? Is it on your website? Where are you struggling with this? So maybe you've been working on the same website copy for months, or you've changed it multiple times because you keep changing the message. Maybe you write and rewrite your bio based on whatever you saw someone else post. Maybe you have a drawer full of almost messaging that never quite feels done because you keep adjusting it. So what if your message, your heart labeled, or where your heart landed on 6 months ago, a year ago, was actually right? What if all this adjusting is just fear dressed up as improvement? It's okay to commit to a message, even when you see other good options out there. I'm giving you permission to let your heart clarify, be louder than your mind's endless alternatives. Let your gut show you what the yes is. It's okay to be known for one clear thing instead of trying to be everything to everyone. Your heart's clarity is more trustworthy than your mind's endless options. And consistency, real committed consistency, is how people actually understand what you do and why it matters. If you're in that place where you know what you want to say, but you keep changing it, and you're ready to create consistent messaging that reflects your true values without all that second guessing, I'd love to support you in that. You can find more how we might work together at arieljoyfaith.com, because you matter in business exactly as you are, with the message your heart has been trying to get you to commit to. Trust the clarity and let it be enough. See you next episode. After all, it is your brand, your story, and your success, because I know that you matter in business. Thank you for listening to You Matter in Business podcast. Please follow, share, like, and comment. I would love to hear from you. This podcast is sponsored by Ariel Faith Storytelling Marketing and Your Brand Photographer. The show notes provide more information on how to contact Ariel and more information about this episode. Thank you again.
They told you to quiet down, but now you wear a crown. Visionary queen with a spark, lighting up the dark. Rediscover your own fire, chase the dreams that lift you higher. Redefine your role today, brand new in every way. Build your confidence through my lens, break the walls you put up since. Embrace your power, hear your roar. You are meant for so much more. You are meant for so much more.